It does feel great in your hand, and I've noticed that the very large magazine release, even though I'm left-handed, doesn't seem to be in the way. It's very comfortable, and I haven't inadvertently ejected the magazine yet, so that's a good thing. Hello everyone, and welcome back to AmmoMart. In today's video, we're going to take a close examination of the Military Armament Corporation's 2011. The gun hasn't been out on the market for all that long and made a pretty good sized splash at this year's SHOT Show. I'm lucky enough to have one unfired, so we're going to do a little bit of an unboxing and see what comes with, and as we go along, we'll talk a little bit about the Military Armament Corporation company as a whole. If you remember a while back, I did a shotgun with them, the 1014, which, by the way, I have 300 rounds through without a drop of oil, and she hasn't stopped yet. That is a fantastically reliable shotgun. I've been very happy with it for very inexpensive dollars compared to Benelli or Beretta, something like that. So we have done something similar before, I believe, with a Springfield Prodigy compared to a Staccato, compared to a Phoenix. And I brought both of those other two pistols out with me today just to see kind of how this will stack up. Now, real dollars, the MSRP on the 2011 from MAC is around 1,100 bucks. Well, nobody pays MSRP. Reality is you can pick this up for right around $8.99, maybe $9.30, wherever you shop, but it is significantly less expensive than even Springfield's Prodigy. So I'm going to get it unboxed and see what comes with this guy. Military Armament Corp is in Knoxville, Tennessee. This weapon was supposedly designed there, but built in Turkey by Tisas. I probably said that name wrong, but I don't speak Turkish. T-I-S-A-S. Set this aside for a sec. And like most, you get kind of a cool little range bag. That's nice. See if there's anything in here. Aha. Manuals, tools. Looks like some different sights, glow pipe, that kind of stuff. And, these look to be different trigger shoes and optic mounting plate, all in a nice little bag. That's kind of cool. Put this back in so I don't lose nothing. And of course, owner's manual. Very important. I always encourage everyone to read the owner's manual. There's things about this you need to know, especially the way the company wants the weapon lubricated and wear. That's very important. Aha. Well, that's cool. 2 mags. I did a little bit of homework. Even though this says Tisas, a lot of times these come with Checkmate magazines. Staccato are made by Dawson Precision. The magazine is always the concern. When the Prodigy first came out, a lot of people reported they had magazine issues with them. I'm not sure about this because the gun is unfired, but we'll see. They seem like they're fairly good quality though. And 17 rounds, so of course 17 plus 1. Definitely kind of cool and hefty. Of course, you do have your safety lock. So, first thing you notice right away is it's kind of got a hybrid sort of grip where the frame is aluminum, but these come off. Maybe later on you could get some different types. The stiffling seems, you know, not aggressive, but not smooth, which is what I prefer, especially if you're going to run this gun, carry it every day, perhaps somewhere close to your nether regions. It won't feel like sandpaper. Hybrid sort of grip system. The frame is 70-75 aluminum, and these just kind of bolt on. I also understand that you can actually remove the mag well as well, which would make it more comfortable for everyday carry if that's what you were going to do with it. Being left-handed, I've always had a love-hate relationship with the 1911 style gun and of course the 2011 because of your magazine release. It's almost never reversible, However, this does have an ambidextrous safety, which is really important for left-handed shooters. You don't have to break grip and do all kinds of weird stuff with the safety, so that's nice. I want to close the slide here. There's very little movement between the slide and the frame. That's nice. The safety is very crisp. It's easy to find. There's no, you want to hear that sort of positive click without too much tension, which is good. The slide's a little stiff, but the gun is new. And I'm sure the recoil springs are pretty heavy in this dude anyway. Huh. Also have a rail. Positive people for those that like lights under their gun. And it looks to be, yeah, like you can adjust the over travel in the trigger with this flat shoe right here. So, of course, the gun does come optic ready. I obviously haven't put an optic on there yet. I just want to try it with the sights to begin with. But down the road, we'll throw one on there and put her through her paces. It looks like, from what I can understand from my own research, that it does do a lot of different types of optics. You can use a Trijicon RMR with the plating kits that come with and all those sorts of things. So that's pretty convenient. And right away, I got to tell you, the gun feels great in your hand. It's not too big. It's not too small. The grip angle seems to be very, very comfortable. And I'm going to try to dry fire this dude and see. A bit stiff for a 1911 or a 2011 style gun. It does break crisp. The surprising thing is it takes a fair amount of poundage. I would say at least 5. I'll test it back in the shop and we'll see how that goes compared to maybe the Staccato. When this came in, I asked our local gunsmith at Buffalo Trading how much would it cost to do a little bit of a polished trigger job. And he thought, you know, $150 or so if you don't buy new parts for it, and around $250 to $300 if you did. For some people, that might be a little nonsensical to spend $900 on the gun and put another $300 or so in the trigger, and I don't disagree. Could also be true that the buyer is quite happy with this trigger, especially for everyday carry. Once again, that's to each his own. Me, I'm a trigger snob. I would either, one, buy a more expensive gun or go ahead and upgrade this trigger because it's nothing to write home about. But enough of the sort of unboxing. Let's see how it does at around 25 feet. So I have some ZSR 115 grain full metal jacket, typical stuff. What I'm try to do is use the top B8 target at this range, like I said, right about 25 feet or so. Supposedly, the gun comes zeroed with the factory sights, or the iron sights is zeroed at 25 yards. So, in case you guys were curious about that at home at all, I'm going to shoot at the top B8 bullseye there. I don't shoot a lot of irons anymore, so bear with. That might be me not being used to the gun. The trigger is very much not like a quality 1911 or 2011. I find it very heavy and you're almost wrestling with it. Even while you try to build pressure, it's a little bit tricky. You can do it, obviously, once I get used to it. It's extremely accurate if you do your part, but the trigger definitely needs polished. It needs some kind of help. Okay, I'm just going to throw a couple of more. We're working right now at around the 15-foot, 5-yard range, of course. See how we do here. Not bad. From the factory, it comes with a 25-yard zero. Slide lock, good. And I would agree with a 25-yard zero, you would expect to be a little low at this range, and we are, so that seems to hold true. Now I'm just gonna pop back a little bit and maybe get to 25 feet or so and see how it goes on the bottom B8. Accurate, but a little bit of a draggy, kind of not super quality trigger in my mind. So we've just simply moved back to the 25-foot range, not yard. Without a bag or something, I don't find the 25-yard accuracy test just holding on to the gun and trying to do your best to be very pertinent. But I think if I do my part, I should be okay at this range to kind of get a relative sort of feel of accuracy for the gun. It does feel great in your hand, and I've noticed that the very large magazine release, even though I'm left-handed, doesn't seem to be in the way. It's very comfortable, and I haven't inadvertently ejected the magazine yet, so that's a good thing. Now, bottom B8. It just takes a lot of pressure on the trigger where you're building. You have to be very patient. My instinct and memory of shooting the STI, even though I don't own it, is that trigger happens a lot quicker. So kind of struggling with all of the timing of things a bit. So I'm going to go downrange and see how it went. The low trend on the gun continues, and that could just be the way I'm stacking the sights. I don't know that I would worry too much about that, especially with a 25-yard zero from the factory. I'm going to try to shoot the gun at 25 yards just for one or two and see if it kind of comes back at that range. But the accuracy on the gun is there, though, if you do your part, for sure. It's very consistent. So all I've done is move the target back to 25 yards. I'm using a piece of steel that's freshly painted. Hopefully I'll be able to cut the target in half with the sights, efficiently press the trigger just to see what the zero does at this range. It definitely has a 25-yard zero from the factory. That is just about dead center, not only with elevation, but with the windage on the pistol. So one of the things I find interesting about this gun right now is that one of its more positive attributes is it doesn't cost a lot of money. I would be very disappointed in just the way it shoots and the trigger and the whole thing, the sights from the factory, if it was any more expensive. It doesn't mean the quality won't be there or the durability and the longevity, but I just would be hard pressed to pay even $10 or $20 more for the gun. I'm just not that big of a fan of it. Works, but glad it's not more money. So we've had this gun on the channel before. This is the STI I borrowed from my friend Sean, who's going to start doing some videos for us on the road at the NRA show and, of course, upcoming Gun Con. He's got a wicked big gun collection of all kinds of stuff, and he's into this sort of thing, high-dollar 2011s. I'm not. I never have been. I just think it's overly complicated by today's standards. Everybody knows I'm a mechanic fanboy. But just for the viewers at home, I'm going to try and demonstrate just based on how these triggers differ. Yeah, that shot's away. Hopefully on camera you'll catch that shot hole at 25 yards. I haven't fired the STI since the last time it was on the video, right? But as soon as the sights are on the target and I have the right picture and alignment and all of that, the gun goes off almost without thought. It's just more natural. It's a smoother, gentler press, and consequently, you're gonna be more accurate. Of course, you have to pay a lot more for it, but I think this demonstration is actually perfect for the difference in the two guns. And in my mind, I would just save my money and buy the STI. So the STI is, when it was new, was around $3,000. Of course, STI is not a thing anymore. Staccato, of course. But I would save my money. $1,000. Right now, you could probably pick this up for maybe $2,250, $2,500 used. And I would definitely tell you to do that. In my mind, it's worth the money. It's worth the upcharge.